Upon reflection of my lessons, they went better than I'd expected. I've been using backwards design already in my lesson planning, although I didn't realize that it had a name. I had to revise my action plan because I used more strategies than I'd originally planned, so it took more time to teach the entire piece than I'd first thought. As each student learns differently, I found that some students picked up the concepts immediately, and others needed more one-on-one assistance from me. Although I thought I could teach more in the first lesson, I found myself sidetracked by having to do more intensive work with some students. Flexibility is the key to good teaching in this class and in teaching in general. The tasks that were used yielded appropriate evidence of identified understandings. Although most of the students had never played a 16th note before, after the lessons they all knew how to play them appropriately. Evidence of learning in my class was done by my watching and listening to my students, and both self and peer evaluation. I could see if a student is bowing a correct rhythm by how their bow moved on the string. I heard that the music sounded right, and I watched their fingers to see if they were playing the notes correctly. As long as I knew that students had the basic concepts, I moved on. To perfect the passages that we learned is their responsibility to continue at home. As a strings class is mostly performance-based, it naturally involves complex real-world applications. These real-world applications come by learning skills needed to play a string instrument. Students are taking the knowledge that I give at the beginning of our lesson so they can integrate the concepts into their playing. In other words, if I demonstrate and diagram 16th notes to my students, we will look at it and play it together until they understand and can reproduce 16th notes on their own in another section of the piece. To help students with this, I gave them warm-ups that mimicked the skills to be learned, and I counted off in that same rhythm just before we began to play. Students have the opportunity to learn the real-world skill of playing an instrument in so many ways in my class. We have a graphic organizer of a fingering chart for each instrument hanging on the wall. There were rhythm pyramids so that students can visualize the rhythms. And there are charts with the notes of a scale in each clef. It's different for each instrument. We also have a word wall where all of the terms that are used and all of the articulations that are in a piece are on the wall so students can check them out. Knowledge is counting the rhythms, skill is playing the notes, and understanding is transferring the knowledge to a new learning circumstance. Each of these three happen during these lessons. I believe that I used a variety of assessments. As I said earlier, I can always tell if a student gets the concept that I'm teaching. Since I have 6 to 8 students in a class, I can do formative assessments constantly. If we played a few measures of a piece, and I saw that everyone's bow is moving at the same time, and their fingers are where they should be, and it sounded good, that's a formative assessment. I assess their rhythms, music literacy, and technique as well. A summative assessment won't happen in this unit until February. While it's risky to have a summative as a performance, I have 3 two-hour dress rehearsals to make sure that we're okay to play. Reflection is very important in our lessons. Evaluating their own performance is a must, not only after the concert, but during each lesson as well. Students are comfortable enough in my class that they can ask questions of me or of a peer if they need more help. Students are also good at self-evaluating if they are playing in tune or not. Several times a class, I have students come up to me and ask for my help, asking if a string is in tune, quote, because it sounds funny, unquote. They are always listening to each other in the group, and that's what makes for a good ensemble. While my students self-evaluate in each class, they also do a more comprehensive evaluation of their performance at the end of the year.